I made it. It is always a challenge to try to jump on live here at the end of every week. Or the
really don't need that much. I'll just go with the brush and lightly buff this out into my.
if I can, I've been making these reefs. It's all polymer clay, and also complimentary like these. They're all fridge magnets, right? So there's a magnet on the back, magnets on the back, and these have been glazed. But I wanted to try to make just this and this tonight, if I can. Here's another design. They're similar. I do like them. So let's make one of those. If we can, if we have enough time. And they're not complicated per se, but they do take a bit of effort because they take a bit of time. All those little tiny pieces is what I'm going to have to create. But the first thing to do is to create the actual base of the reef. And I have all my colors here. I'm just kind of setting all my colors up. All the different color clays that I'm going to use for this particular project. I've been making these for a couple weeks. This is basically once I stopped making the pumpkin houses, which there was no issue with the pumpkin houses. I didn't stop making them because I had a problem with them. It's just I wanted to transition into doing something a little different, and this is what I've landed on. I saw another artist had made something very similar, and I was like, oh, that is really cool. Let me make something like that. So that's how we've ended up here with these basically little holiday harvest reefs. At the same time, I'm editing a video. So my computer's over here and I'm editing. I'm pretty much done. I'm waiting on it to render. It's going to be on a channel I haven't worked with much in the last period, which is the Lego channel, which is Mac Blair bricks. I just finished cooking my half of dinner. Hello, how you doing? I'm doing good. I was just saying I'm a little tired because I cooked my half of dinner and I was rushing to give myself enough time to be able to jump on live. I'm cooking half. My wife is doing the other half. And she had to run to the store. The kids, if you could hear them in the background, they're in the living room being kids, doing what kids do. Oh, appreciate that. That's nice. Thank you. It's a lot of zeros. I don't want to mispronounce that. Maroyua? I don't think I'm saying that right. Mushrooms with the fry up. Mushrooms sound nice. They look nice on a plate. I don't tend to eat them very often, but they do look nice. I will admit that. David, how you doing? It's a madhouse in the living room. If you hear all the screaming, no one is hurt. No one's in danger. They're just, they're being kids. And they're watching SpongeBob, and they're having a great time at it. What I'm doing right now is just loosening up this clay. It's pretty hard. It's just kind of working it back and forward in my hands. There are other ways to do it, but this is the quickest, and it kind of gets me more in line. So we did get the car fixed. We got the car back on Friday. Do you want to know how much it cost? It was outrageous. It was right at 6,000 pounds to get the car fixed. They had to replace the turbo. They said there were several oil leaks, and so it was bad. It was really expensive. And understand that we've had a rental, which has cost us right at 700 pounds to 1,200 pounds a week for over a month. This whole car experience, we're out of so much money. So 6,000 plus probably another, we're probably out of about 12,000 pounds just to get a car repaired. Because when we had to get a car repaired, we had to rent another one. We have a smaller car, but it can't hold the whole family. So we had to rent a large vehicle. We're now have to get in the market for a second vehicle, larger vehicle, because that was just way too expensive. And so if our car breaks down again, we can't afford to spend that kind of money just to get it back on the road. That was financially outrageous. It cost us so much money. And then it took so long too. Unfortunately, as soon as I get the car back, the check engine light came back on again. It's driving fine, but we spent so much money. I'm gonna have to wait on this check engine light to get it back to the shop again. Marie, how you doing? Yes, been to Singapore. Singapore was phenomenal because I went to Thailand first with my sister. My sister had a foreign exchange student several years ago when her kids were still in school, and Pam. And so my sister was going to visit Pam after the year that Pam had spent with her family. And me and Blair, we said, hey, can we jump in and go with you guys to Singapore? And they said, yes. So we went with them to Singapore and we hung out with my sister and her husband and her family and Pam's mom. And they did such a wonderful job with us. So we were in Bangkok. And so we were there with them about 3 or 4 days. And then Blair and I, we left and then we flew to Singapore. And my sister went with Pam and her family to the north near, is it Chiang Mai? I'm not sure, but they went to the north and they were up in northern Thailand. And we went to Singapore and we did the botanical gardens there. And Singapore is beautiful. That was my first time ever being on that side of the planet. And it was really beautiful. One day we had lunch with an Australian couple who we just met. And it was such a wonderful trip. But unfortunately, we were tired because we did so much. And it was over New Year's too. But Singapore is beautiful. You ever get a chance to go to Singapore, if you haven't been, Changi is the airport. That's the reason I wanted to go to Singapore in the beginning, because there's a beautiful airport there. And it has this magnificent water features, massive. Just Google the water fountain in Changi in Singapore. You'll see it. It's absolutely massive. It's really beautiful. Okay, so this was, you can see now it was a block. Tonight I'm making one of these. I started making these a little while ago, just like a couple of weeks ago. These little reefs, and they're magnetic, and they're fridge magnets. And so I'm going to make that, and I'm going to make a smaller one at the same time. And they're both the fridge magnets. I like having these. I have several of them on the fridge, and I just started making these. And this is going to be the base. Okay, I hear the kids. Let me pause for a second and go check on them. Okay, sorry about that. Had to check. Kizzy got a little loud in there, and I just had to go and check, make sure she's okay. She's in there screaming now that she wants to look at Peppa Pig, which my kids were all about Bluey, but over the last 2 or 3 weeks, Peppa Pig has jumped to the front of the line. back to crafting now. Now that I can see that they are okay. So this is going to be a smaller one. And then let me find this. Is there one smaller than that? Maybe not. I'm going to cut the center out of this one. Here we go. It does look like a burger. This design is going to be a little different because it's going to be a little smaller. I don't need this right now, but set this to the side. This is a liquid clay, and I'm just going to put the liquid clay. And it looks like if you, everyone remembers your school days, right? And during your school days, you had the glue, the liquid glue. It looks like the old school, and the glue we used was an Elmer's glue. It looks like an old school Elmer's glue. I'm just going to sit this on this piece of paper to get it up off the table. Just sit it right there. But it looks like an Elmer's glue. I'm going to have to clean the table. That's why I'm getting this up off the table. I'm going to clean the table when I'm done. Normally, I would do this on a piece of glass or something, but that's not here. All right. So now let's just start making the different pieces that are going to go on this wreath. Oh, we flew through Hong Kong, but we didn't stay there. We never left the airport. We left from DC, Washington, DC, and I think it was a 16-hour flight to Hong Kong. Landed in Hong Kong, spent a couple hours there, which is like really great because we had the food in the terminal there was phenomenal. It's like it was full restaurants there. It was like really good food. I remember that. About Hong Kong, but we didn't get a chance to stay very long. Then jumped back on the plane and flew on. It's kind of a sparkly clay. You see that? And here, the first thing we're going to make is just a couple of pumpkins. I have an entire bag of tools that I use for this, but I typically, most of what I do only uses 3. 1, 2, and 3. Most everything I do, I can do it with these 3. But I have a whole bag for when I need something special. So yeah, these little holiday wreaths, right now I'm doing pumpkins and cranberries and apples, everything that's kind of this type of harvest season. Next, I'm going to switch over to more of a different holiday, which is going to be more of a Christmas themed. But right now we're still in the pumpkin season. Here's the first one that I made. You see a little pumpkin, has a little stem on it. And just pick a spot and sit it on the wreath. It doesn't matter where I put it right now, because it's the first thing that's going on there. This is the second one. Now it's this one's a little small because this is a little smaller than, so everything else on that I put on this is going to be a lot smaller. But I made orange, but you know, although you don't really see black pumpkins in real life, I like to make little black ones as well. There's a little black one on this one. I think it's cool. You can see there's a little black. Let me see. It's not focusing on that. There's a little black one on there. So we're gonna do the same thing here. So I hope everyone had a good week leading up to today. Last week, it's busy. I remember last time we were on, I was sitting on live, someone said, my life looks fun, but exhausting. I'm like, to a degree, it is. Tomorrow, the kids start back up with a lot of their sports. They kind of had a short period break, and now they're going to start back up with all their sports, which is fine. We don't have a problem with it, but it means we're going to be getting home a lot later because the boys are all doing football, different sports. They're having a lot of fun with it, though. And then Matthew or Braden both just signed up for a fitness club, which I'm like, okay, that's different. We didn't have that when I was in school. Fitness club. I'm like, that's cool. But no heavy weight lifting or anything like that. They're still really young. I think they're just doing anaerobic things and things of that sort. But it's good to learn how to do fitness things, right? To learn how to be athletically fit and to make that a part of your routine as a kid, because help you be healthier for the length of your life. One thing that I've noted, because I read a lot of, not as many as I used to, but I used to read a lot of scientific journals. And in the journals, they talked about how the kids who are being born today, how they have a higher anticipated life expectancy, which is really good. Medical advancements and health advancements means that the babies and youth of today should live long, healthy lives. Now, that is depending on us as our generations, not destroying the world for them, kind of giving them a safe place in which to grow up and live and learn. But if we can do that, if we can stay on the trajectory that we're on as a global people, that's a global we. When I say we, people can live longer, healthier lives, which I think is a really good thing. Life expectancies should continue to go up. So making little stems now, that's all I'm doing here. It's really tiny, just see little pieces of clay there in between my hands. But I want the stems on these to be orange, just to offset from the black pumpkin. You hear the screaming? I don't know if you guys can hear the screaming. Can you hear the screaming? I hear the screaming. They have such a fun time. And my kids rarely ever fight. I'm very glad and very proud of the fact that they don't do that. But when they get to having a good time together, they can just have a ball. Okay. Here is that little black pumpkin. Kind of hard to make it out. I get it. It's really small. There you go. Just a little black pumpkin. And this smaller, I'm going to sit it beside this other one here. And this other one, put it on, just sit it down there. And let's do a more classic orange pumpkin. Now I'll get the pumpkins in place and then start to add in some of the other elements as well. I still have one child that is so much louder than all the rest of them. And she's the youngest. She's the baby. She was so tiny. When she was born, she was the smallest baby we have ever had. She was a twin, and she was the smaller of the two twins. She was only a couple ounces larger than what it would take to go to the prenatal, the NICUs, when they're like the babies are really small, they have to put them under the lights. She was really, really tiny, but she was just a little big enough to where she could stay in the room with us. So she stayed with us. We kept her warm, but she was so quiet and tiny. And now she's just bouncing off the walls constantly. So that's been good. And the bigger baby, which is Malachi, he's quiet. He's still quiet. I do love the separation in their personalities. Malachi is most stoic, if that's a term that can be used for a 2-year-old. I think once I'm done with the pumpkins here, I may make a couple of apples. I'm not sure if I want apples on these wreaths or not. For me, it's all about trying to make sure I'm blending the colors properly to get the right colors. I definitely want what is basically like a daisy. That's what's on all these others. They all have at least one yellow daisy. So I want to keep that pattern going. I just think that's a great flower that matches the end of this harvest season. You see some large sunflowers and daisies at this time of year. So that's what that flower represents. So here's the next little pumpkin, just knocking these little things out. Bend that stem over a little bit. Okay. And then the smaller one, do the exact same thing. So I could add more detail to each one of these elements. So if I wanted to add more detail to each pumpkin, I can. It's a factor of you want to add enough detail so everyone knows exactly what it is that they're looking at. But at the same time, I don't want to add too much detail because it is the combination of all of the elements together that will create that final look for you. And now I need a white because I want to do a white pumpkin. I have a lot of clay. They escaped the living room. They've been recaptured. So the little ones ran out and the older brothers ran out, grabbed them, took them back. And they're just looking at television in there. We try, Blair's cooking, as I mentioned a moment ago. And so we do not let the kids come around while we're cooking. I had a friend when I was in school. I grew up with a friend and he unfortunately was burned really badly when he was young. I think he pulled a pot off of a stove. And so he was burned, and those burns are lifelong. The healing is there, but the scarring remains. So I've always had a rule that if I'm cooking, no kids can be around while I'm cooking. I just don't like having kids around. So if we're cooking, if water's boiling, if pots are going, if grease is, then we just don't let the kids be anywhere near us while we're doing that. No, none of that. Um, and I've always been very strict on that one thing, just because I know how dangerous it can be, because so quickly you can lose track, and a kid can grab a handle or a ladle. You could be moving something and don't see them, and you turn around. It just always could be, bad scenarios. So I make sure that the kids, when we're cooking, stay on the other side of the house. I had a similar rule for when I used to mow the yard. I don't mow the yard here, but when our home back in the States, I had lawnmowers and tractors. And so if I was on a tractor or if I was mowing the yard or anything along that line, no kids. That's way too big. It needs to be smaller. Let's cut that in half and do it over. No kids could be around. So they had to be in the house if I was on the lawnmower. It's just safer. It really is. You can't keep an eye on them all the time. And you definitely can't do it while driving tractors or lawnmowers, which are incredibly loud. These are riding lawnmowers, so really loud. Can't see around you, behind you. And little kids come running up behind you. So I'm so glad that they put in those backup cameras and these sensors on almost every new vehicle. That helps a lot. But back to the main point, we're cooking, so the kids have to stay away. It's not so much the clay. The clay and the kids, that's not a problem. I don't have a problem with them being around when I'm doing the clay, but I do have a problem with them being around when there's like food being made. Okay. So I do like making these little wreaths, but I think I mentioned this before, that they're cool, they're fun. They're not necessarily hard, but all the little individual pieces just take a long time. So I have done this a couple ways. I have said, okay, let me make all of the pumpkins all at one time. And I've done that. And if I was making, say, 3, 4, 5, or 6 or more, then I would make all the pumpkins and then bake them. And I would do it that way. But in this case, I'm not doing that because I'm only making 2. So I'm just kind of making them and placing them. But if I was doing, say, something more or larger, then I definitely would not do it this way because it would take too long. Let's make a couple of little apples to stick on. Okay, the apples are really easy. They're just smaller. And I'll only make a couple of those. And then I'll start making some leaves. Really tiny apples. And depending on the size of the apple, I may do a stem. On the slightly larger apple, I'll do a stem on that one. On the smaller apple, stem would be, I could do it, but I don't know if it's worth it. Let me just get really small with this. And I caught Kinsey eating more snacks. I come into the kitchen and I asked her, I said, "Where'd you get that?" And she looked at me, she thought about it. She said, "Daddy?" Like, no, I did not give you that. Don't put that on me. I don't know if I filmed it. If I did, I'll make like a little short of it or something. So here is an apple, and it is really tiny. Get out of the light. There you go. It's really small. And just sit it right there. And this other apple is even smaller than that. It's half the size. Okay. Yep, just getting. Here's the other apple. And we're getting this. We're getting pretty tiny at this point. They're pretty tiny. Just set that right down the side. Okay, so now just kind of moving on to something else. Make something else in here. Just keep going. So yesterday, Blair and I went to a Lego show, and it was in Swindon. Anyone from Swindon is a nice little town. I think Swindon has more roundabouts than anywhere else in definitely in England, maybe even all of the UK. It has so many. I mean, Milton Keynes has a lot of roundabouts as well, but Swindon is beyond that. So just circle after circle after circle. And we finally made it to the shopping center there, and we were going to the Steam Museum because that's where the Lego show was at. We haven't done a lot of Lego shows this year. Normally we go to several over the course of the year. This year we haven't gone to as many. I'm thinking we would definitely we'll be back in Manchester. I'm not liking that. I'm thinking we'll probably be back in Manchester in the spring which is the UK's largest Lego show is in Manchester. I like this one better. So yeah, the UK's largest Lego show is in Manchester, and it's pretty much in the spring. And we've gone to that one a couple times, and I enjoyed that one. That was a lot of fun when we went last year. I think we've gone twice, but it's such a big show. You have to book tickets months and months and months ahead of time. And we really enjoy going to that one. But yesterday we went to Swindon. Swindon's nice. MacArthur Glen, I think is the name of the little shopping center right there. Just a nice little getaway for a little while with just us two, away from the herd. Just want to make a couple of leaves real quick, just to fill it up, because how do you have a wreath without some leaves on it? Leaves are a little tricky. I could do different designs, but I wanted to predominantly make a leaf that looks like a maple leaf. And that's what I'm aiming it for right now. So that's a nice little maple leaf. Let's just get that in place here. We'll make some more of those. But if we're doing autumn color, all the leaves shouldn't be green. Some of them should be more of orange and red. It's a good coloration to blend together, to have a leaf that's kind of going through that transition period, that autumn color coloration. So this is a good color. Yeah. Blending those two colors together. This is just a press, like you can see, it's a stamp. It has the design in it that I'm looking for, the shape. And I'm able to mold. It's actually just a mold. I'm able to use this to mold the leaves into the shape that I want with the textures. It saves a bit of time. I can freehand these, and I have done that before, and it just takes so much more time. So if you have a way to save yourself some time with your crafting, I would always advise you to do that. I signed up for Hobbycraft, which is where I buy 90% of my clay from. Months and months and months ago, I signed up. They had an option for you to sign up, and I signed up, and I didn't. And I would go in, and every time they asked me, "Hey, what's your name? What's your postal?" And I give them my, and I was like, why am I doing this? And it took me forever to figure out that they were sending discounts to my email. And by the time I figured it out, I looked at my email, and I had lost. When I say lost, I had missed out on probably 100 pounds worth of discounts, because they would send, this week they send a £2 discount, £2.50. If you spend, 10, 15 pounds, you get £2 off, £5 off. And so I went back and I added up, and it was over 100 pounds of discounts that I had just missed because I didn't recognize that was how they operated. So now I'm definitely keeping up with it. And I'll take the hit on that for me not paying attention close enough to how they operated. So now I definitely know. So I'm always in Hobbycraft buying clay. And when I do, I get my discounts now. Every store you go to has discounts, right? You have to get onto their webs, their apps, and use their discounts, their loyalty plans. And it's a bit annoying, right? I don't know if anyone else is annoyed by all of that, but if you don't do it, you're leaving money on the table, so to speak. They incentivize you to do it. They want to be able to harvest information from you, but they incentivize you to do it. You can see this, just a tiny little, kind of a leaf with a red center. I don't know if you can make it out. Yeah, really tiny. And I'll sit that beside the apple. And these are fun to make. When you get to these small pieces, though, they do tend to get a bit trickier to get them into place properly. And then as I'm building these reefs, I can't, unfortunately, I would love to be able to pick it up and show it to you, but they're fragile, and I can't pick them up. So I just kind of leave it sitting on the table. And the only time I'll pick it up is right when I'm getting ready to move it to this. There's a tray right here that I'm going to bake it in. So when I get ready to move it to the tray to bake it, is the only time I'll move it. Other than that, all the pieces that are stacking up on it could potentially fall off. And I definitely don't want that to happen. I woke up this morning and it was really foggy outside, and I've been missing the fog. I know that sounds weird, but it's one of those things that you anticipate that you would experience living here in England. When I first moved over, we had fog like no other. And when I say first move over, I mean I'm talking back in 2020 when I first moved to the UK. And we'd be driving along and the fog would get so bad. And I feel like for the last few years, it hasn't been that bad, at least not where I live. In other places, of course, it probably has been. So I was excited this morning when I woke up and I looked out the window and I couldn't see very far because there was so much fog. And I'm like, this feels right. This feels right. And of course, the rest of the day was much cooler, but that's not a problem. It's pretty much how it's supposed to be right now, this time of year. Okay. So I made some different little things and I want to go back and I haven't made these flowers yet. So I want to go back and try to get these flowers in place. So yeah, let me see if I can adjust this. Let me back this up. Does that help at all with the chat window? I'm sorry, guys. I didn't realize I wasn't at the bottom of the chat window. So I wasn't seeing if you said anything in the last few minutes, I didn't see it because it wasn't scrolling for me. But does that help? So now you can kind of see. I tried to adjust it before, but hopefully now you can really see what I'm working on. And then again, I don't want to lift these up because they're so tiny. But yeah, I know. And people think like the fog. Why do you care about the fog? And it's just I don't know. I love the seasonality of in the summer, hot, crispy, hot days, and I love the autumn. You get the fog and the leaves all changing color. I guess I like the changing of seasons. I think I would struggle if I lived somewhere for a really long time that didn't have seasons or noticeable seasons. Okay. Look, let me get back on track here. What am I making? Okay. Yes. I am making a daisy. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to do a daisy. So as I mentioned, the chat screen wasn't scrolling. It is scrolling again now. So I apologize if you said something in the last few minutes. Just repeat it and I'll try to, if it's a question or something, repeat it and I'll go back to it. But it was not scrolling. I said, wow, is no one in the chat? I was like, okay, it's fine. People don't want to be in the chat. They don't have to be in the chat. That's what I'm thinking to myself. People don't want to chat. That's fine. Although this is a craft and chat, although I didn't name it this time on the live, but that's what this is. This is a Sunday craft and chat. I craft and we just kind of talk. But I didn't realize that my screen wasn't scrolling. Ever watch Boondocks? Of course I watch Boondocks. What's the best episode of the Boondocks? Okay, I have my best episode, but you tell me what's the best episode of the Boondocks doing a Toadstool. For this, like on this in the reef, okay, I could do that. I haven't thought of adding a Toadstool to it, but I can. The only thing I need to think about is the orientation. Should it be a toadstool that's standing up or laying down? I need to think about that real quick. The best episode of the Boondocks is the R. Kelly episode. Okay. No, I was not ignoring you. I'm sorry. The best episode of the Boondocks is the fundraiser. When Riley opens up a chocolate company and starts selling chocolate to me because that's the best episode. I can't talk about why. If you know, you know, but that's the best of the R. Kelly episode. We can't talk about that either. The R. Kelly episode is good as well. Both of them are really good. Okay, yeah, I can do a toadstool. I can do that. I'll probably do that after I finish I can add that. I'll add that after I do this flower. and the flower did not come out right. If I do it wrong, if I don't center everything correctly, it won't come out right. But it's cool because even if it doesn't come out right, I have a way to save it. I'll just put something on, I'll just put something on top of the part of it that's not right. You know what? I don't like it. It doesn't look good. I'll take that one off. Set it to the side, and I'll start over another one because it's a little too far off on the shapes. So let me do this, and then a toadstool. Are we talking a classic toadstool with the red cap, the white spots? That's the first one that comes to mind. You can do that. To think about how long I want that stem to be. Not too long. I don't know if I'll be here forever because I'm on a work visa. And so eventually those work visas likely come to an end at some point. I do know, well, I have signed up to stay longer. Every opportunity that I've had to sign up to stay longer, we have requested, Blair and I, I've checked with the family. We've signed up to stay longer. So we're here. We are over 5 years. We were looking at some of the videos on the channel just the other day from when we went off and did some activities and the kids were so young. It was like, wow. And it just kind of comes back to mind, like how long we've been here. 5 years is literally half a decade. That's a little better. It's not quite as good as I would like. Just kind of work on it a little bit. Even up some of the petals. Okay. Now, let's see if we can get a toadstool going here. Now, the base, I don't know if I have a tan color, because that's what I would like. I would like a tan color, light tan for the base. I'm not sure I have the right color here. I have almost every color imaginable in the bag, but I don't want to dig in the bag too much. Let's see, just kind of work this around. Yeah, I feel like it's gone quickly. We got here in 2020 and you look around and it's 2025. We got here in September of 2020. And so I feel like the time has really shot by as well. It's been surprising how quickly it's gone. I could do a fruit one. About a week ago, I went through and I'll show you. I made several baskets of fruit. Blueberries, tomatoes, apples, just no bananas in there. Bananas are hard. That shape is a little more difficult. So technically I could take these fruit because they're not connected to the basket. They're just literally just sitting in the basket. So there's different fruits and pumpkins and different things. And it's just, these are all baked. They're done. And I have several baskets. I don't know. So yes, I could make a fruit wreath, but what I want to do is I'd want to look at, so I went to a flower show, a couple flower shows, and they had baskets there. There were ornamental baskets, and they were really pretty baskets. And I would go back and look at those baskets and see what all they had in those baskets, because those were award-winning, and pretty much copy that is what I would do. So make those specific fruit. I'm just going to open up. So I have a red here that I'm using, and this is the red that I've been using for the apples. But I want to use a different clay, a different red for the Toadstool. I want to use a red that's just slightly, it is not a very different red, but it is a different red. And at first it looked more burgundy, but as I take it out, it looks more bright red colored actually. So maybe a little more red than I like, but we're going to use it. Yes. So you count time with your I do the same. I count time with my kids. That's how I keep up with how long we've been places, ages, all of those things. Blair, on that shelf is another, look, the other one like this is behind that door. Could you bring it to me? It's on a charger behind that door. I just ran the battery down on that one. Matter of fact, what's the battery on my phone? Okay, it's good. Still working on this Toadstool here, just trying to pull this together. So are you saying you've been in Scotland for 14 years? That would be phenomenal. Could you plug it up, please? And then take that one and put that one on the charger. Thank you. I do like Scotland. And there's the area, and I can't ever say the name right. Every time I say it, I know I'm saying it wrong. But as you head north from Perth, and you're heading up to Inverness, and you're passing through this natural forest area. It's not even forest, it's just, was it heather out there? That area is really, really beautiful. And then we came back down the western side, down the western coast, and we ended up on this beautiful road. And it was raining, so there was all these waterfalls running off the mountainside because it was raining. So on one side, it didn't feel good because it was raining. Like, oh my goodness, we're driving in the rain. But then we got to see all these beautiful waterfalls. And there were these mountains. Was it the Three Sisters? Was that the Three Sisters?
Three Sisters.
Yeah. Oh, Kenzie has escaped again. I don't know why it's not. Tonight, pork chops, mac and cheese, mac and cheese, and green beans. She's screaming a lot. Okay, so this is a very rudimentary-esque toadstool made very quickly. And we're gonna just sit that right there. I had to make a real, to go in the smaller one, I had to make one that's really small. But we had it in a toadstool. That's pretty cool. Never thought about adding that, but it does match, especially it fits the theme. Okay, what else we want to add on here? You know what? I feel like it doesn't have quite enough pumpkins on this one, on the larger one. I'm gonna make another pumpkin real quick. It is fiddly until you bake it. And so after I bake it, it's more firmed up, and then I glaze it with the UV resin, and then it's absolutely hard. I mean, it's fine. You don't want to drop it on the ground, of course, but after I bake it, it's pretty easy to work with there. It's just until it's baked, I'll admit, it's very fragile. I may run out of time tonight to finish these, in which case I have to take them and sit them in a windowsill somewhere until I can get back to it to finish it. And I'm only going to run out of time just because I'm at the dinner table. And normally we would have already eaten dinner by now. But I mentioned Blair had to go to the store, pick up some ingredients. We were out of milk. And so we're a bit late tonight. But I did want to jump on the live. And it does not expand when I bake it. The cool thing about it, I can tell you, is that when I bake it, it doesn't expand. It also doesn't contract. So it doesn't shrink. Pretty much whatever size I put it into the oven as, that's the size that it's going to stay, which is really good, because if it expanded and contracted, that would be hard. Now, I have had a problem in the past, once or twice, where I've used different clay from different companies. So 99% of all the clay I use is from this company. Filmo. But if you mix clay from different companies, then you can sometimes get cracks. That doesn't happen very often. I haven't had that happen very often. But to stop that, and I say it doesn't happen very often, and that's because 99% of the time I'm only using clay from one company, and I find that does a great job with stopping that from happening. So I'm going to throw another pumpkin here, and I'm going to put it sit it on top of the sunflower daisy, and just sit it right there. So I'll be honest with you, to finish this up, it's going to take about another 30, maybe even 40 minutes, because although it looks maybe pretty done, I can very carefully pick this up. It's getting there, right? But anytime you can still see glue, if I still see glue, if I still see brown, then that means it's a normal oven. I put this in a normal. And now I do have a smaller oven that I can use, just a little time, the little ovens, just the little timed ovens. And I can set the timer, which is the best way to do it. But I can also bake these in my larger oven. This polymer clay is non-toxic, so I can bake it in my larger oven. The problem with using a normal oven with this is that if you forget it and you don't set a timer, I love the timed ovens because they turn off. But if you put this in the oven and you walk away and you don't set a timer, it will melt if it goes too far, or scorch, melt. I've had bad things happen before. So I try to always, if I do put it in a larger oven, I definitely use a timer with it to make sure that I don't create a problem like that. It doesn't happen very often that I forget to set the timer. And then I use my phone. I'll ask Blair to help me remember. I use Blakely. Blakely is the third. She's the oldest child, and she's like the third brain in the house. I use Blakely a lot. It's like, oh no, I'm your parent, and you're the oldest kid, and so nope, you're gonna have to help me keep everything on track. And I'm not talking about putting a lot of pressure on her, but I'll say, hey, Blakely, help me keep up with this, or help me do that, because I'm totally fine with acknowledging that I don't have all the answers all the time, or that I need help. Because I feel like as a parent, you get older, I'm still helping my mom out, right, with things. Blair helps her mom. And as you know, as you get older, the world's going to continue to transition around you. It's going to get more complicated, more complex. And, you know, if you have someone who can help you adjust to those changes, I'm making 2 little apples here. These are yellow apples. If you have someone who can help you adjust to those changes, then it makes your life a little easier. So I acknowledge that I'm keeping up with the changes today for the most part. But I was out with the kids. We were in, I can't remember where we were exactly, but we were walking through a shopping area and it was these shirts for sale. And the shirts had words and different phrases written on them. And all my kids were like, oh, that phrase means this. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't recognize any of this stuff. And so I'm like, oh, it's happening to where there are things that are, you know, transpiring in the world that I'm just not keeping up with. So here's that apple. I just made this one. Just a nice little yellow apple. And there's a leaf on it. Really tiny though. I won't lie to you. It's small. And we'll just set that yellow apple beside the red one.
We got it out. We got it.
I don't even want to know what happened. Just go. Help me, she says. Go see what help me needs. If you're watching a room, see your kids into some mischief, not anything too bad, and you just decide that as a parent, I don't even want to deal with that. I'm gonna just pretend I'm gonna pretend I don't see it, stop it, and then you just go the other way. Now, I'm not talking about anything bad. I'm just talking about, like, I walked in the room earlier today and Trey and Braden were in the room and I was like, what are you doing in here? And I think they had one of the game consoles. They were like playing on a Switch or something. And I was like, I don't even want to know. If you have a Switch, go put it up. Let's take out the trash. But I don't care what you were doing. I don't even want to know. I just walked out of the room. You have those moments sometimes. I do anyways. Other parents may not, but I definitely do. So I'm going to do more Christmas themed. And I started buying, like I'm doing again, this one is still harvest. The next round, once I get past these, I'm going to do Christmas theme. I'm buying and thinking about how I want to do it. I'm making candy canes and little Christmas trees and just wreaths and just all these different things of what I want to put on that, on to make little Christmas tree versions of this very same thing. I think would be pretty cool. Home of UK pottery, worth visiting. Okay, I'll have to go check that out. Oh, the kids love the broccoli. However, I ended up taking it back away from them. Here it is. You see it's a little fuzzier because they did play with it, but it's still all together. They did enjoy the broccoli. It's just sitting up here on the shelf with some of the other things. I set it beside, I have a SpongeBob up there sitting beside some of the other things I made just because I looked in, it was just on the floor and I was like, hey, because they're kids, right? They don't care. A toy is a toy to them, especially when I gave it to the 2 younger kids, but they did enjoy it. Malachi took it and he carried it around with him for a day. And if he wants it back, he'll just come and take it off the shelf and he'll have it back. I'm not trying to keep it from him, but I put it up there so I can keep an eye on it for now. So one of these is closer to being finished than the other. The smaller one just has pumpkins on it and it has no leaves or anything. So I have a bit more work. But yeah, as I mentioned, these are getting filled up, but it's just a process of then just thinking about, okay, well, what else do I want to add to this? So do I want to add another pumpkin? Do I want to add, and so like I need something right here. So I just take them and I just keep spinning them around in a circle And anytime if I see glue or if I see a brown spot, then I know that I need to make something else to cover that spot. Just lost my tool. Okay. All right, guys. Unfortunately, Blair just walked out of the room and said, dinner's done. That's her way of saying, all right, you're done. Wrap it up. I had to clean all this stuff up and let her get the plates set out. And next time I do this, I'll try to get started a little bit earlier. Small photo frames. Yes, but I have to get the dimensions right around a photo. Yeah, I could see that. I'd have to buy the frame. I mean, there's a couple ways I could do it. I could buy the frame and use that as a model and then create something that would sit on top of the frame. I could see that. But I have to get the dimensions. When I say get the dimensions, like what's the dimensions for the frame? Because as you can see, this could be scaled up or scaled down. That's not the problem. I could definitely do that. Okay, so here's where we're going to have to stop after about an hour of crafting, and I hope you can make it out. And I have this smaller one, which just has the pumpkins on it. I need to do a bit more, add more to that. I have the larger one, which has some leaves coming off of it, has some pumpkins, but neither one of them are done. They both need a bit more time. Unfortunately, I'm out of time, getting kicked away from the table because it's so late. It's been fun, guys. And I hope to talk to you again next week. Take care. Have a good week.